Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. And I'm glad to be back. Between the last video and this video, I had to go down and pick my wife's car up from a service, MOT, and a few repairs. And I just forked out £1,700. Oh, woe is me. And a lot though that sounds like, it says nothing, of course, to the amount of money that people spend when they're buying sort of white products, dusty stuff, Colombian. Ask Mary Black, for example. Her Colombian Kit Kats, I'm sure, aren't cheap. But again, she's got a ready supply, I suspect. She gets them, directly from the wholesaler, as it were. From Humza Yousaf's brother-in-law, perhaps. Who knows? And speaking about that, he has been in court today. And we've got that report. So, before we get into it, and we will look at it right away, I would ask, if you're yet to subscribe, please do so. When we grow, we do so because you subscribe and you like the videos. And I do know that there's a lot of people who keep getting bounced off. So please, if you are someone who's subscribed, check your subscription. YouTube bounces people. Nobody knows why. So please hit that subscribe button, strengthen the channel, and we can keep bringing you stories like this. Humza Yousaf's brother-in-law appears in court, charged with possession of H and a bit of crack. Ramzi El Nakla, 36, was allegedly caught with more than £6,000 worth of H, along with two other people, on January the 11th, which was last Thursday, of course. And this all broke out over the weekend. We did the video on it, and we were waiting, of course, until his appearance in court today. And it does seem very odd that you have the First Minister of Scotland, and his brother-in-law is doing this. Now, there's no way someone doing this is not known within the family. And this then stinks, doesn't it? Because you've got the First Minister of Scotland who has got to undoubtedly know that his brother-in-law is dealing like this and has said nothing to the police or the authorities, has done nothing about it. It's rather hypocritical considering he, first of all, was the Justice Minister and is now the First Minister and is ultimately responsible for the implementation of laws, and he's overlooking the laws. Presumably, the law only applies to other people. It does not apply to him and his family. As First Minister, he has to answer the question, did he know? And we all know that within a family, yes, he did. There is no way he did not know this is happening. He must resign. If it's proved that he knew his brother-in-law was doing it and he did not go to the police, then he is complicit and guilty after the fact, and that is a criminal offence as well. Let's take him into court, let's take him into custody, let's put him on the stand next to them for being guilty after the fact. That is an absolute thing to do. He undoubtedly knew. There's no way he didn't. We all know families work in that way. Anyway, the First Minister's brother-in-law has appeared in court accused of being concerned in the supply of H worth more than £6,000. I have to say it like that because of YouTube, so do bear with me when I use these terms. It gets a bit uppity and demonetisy, and we don't want that. Anyway, Ramzi El Nakla, 36, was allegedly caught dealing the Class A substance along with two other people at an address in Dundee on the 11th of January. El Nakla from Kate's Wynd, Dundee, and I could do a Forbesy joke here, but I'm not going to. I've got more class than that. Spent the weekend in custody before appearing briefly on a 3-charge petition at the Dundee Sheriff's Court. They were all allegedly to have... they were also alleged to... This is the three of them, alleged to have had crack and weed. Co-accused Stephen Stewart, 50, of Dundee, and Victoria McGowan, 41, of Dunholm Terrace, Dundee, also appeared to face the same charges. They are all alleged to have been concerned in the supply of H at 12F Balmoral Gardens in the city on Thursday night when the police raided the property. Didn't raid hard enough or often enough. Who tipped them off? Because if the tip-off wasn't from Humza Yousaf, then he's got questions to answer. Around a quarter of a kilo of it was recovered, with a potential street value estimated by police to be in the region of £6,500. The trio are also alleged to have been caught in possession of Yeah, I suppose about £60 a kilo. Okay, go with that. Also, a gram, I mean. They were also caught in possession of crack with a street value of 300 and cannabis worth 60. McGowan is alleged to have been the subject of a bail order granted at Dundee Sheriff's Court on the 22nd of September last year. Surely then he should be back in jail. None of the three who appeared individually before Sheriff George Way entered any plea, and the case against all three was continued for further examination. So basically a holding charge. They've been charged and it's a holding penalty. But it is odd that Humza Yousaf didn't come forward with the information, hasn't made a comment on this. He undoubtedly needs to. He needs to say it is his family, after all. El Nakla, McGowan and Stewart were all granted bail. How can Stewart be granted bail if he was already out on bail? That seems very odd. Committing a crime while on bail, surely that's straight to jail. Or have I got something very seriously wrong there? Anyway, El Nakla 36 was traced by Public Police Scotland officers following a report of a break-in on Balmoral Gardens in Dundee last Thursday night. Stewart and McGowan were also arrested at the scene. El Nakla's sister, psychotherapist Nadia El Nakla, a woman who didn't take the surname of her husband, the First Minister Humza Yousaf, and she is also a councillor on Dundee City Council, where she sits on the scrutiny committee. Perhaps she should start scrutinising her own family and indeed her own marriage. After being made aware of her brother's arrest, she said, "I don't have any comment just now. Let's just see what happens in the next few days." Again, she will have undoubtedly known what her brother does. Do we need people sitting there in authority, making laws, passing judgment, and so forth, when they are guilty after the fact of criminal effects, of criminal events? Her brother is breaking the law. Her brother is a criminal and committing offences, and she's doing nothing, and yet doesn't feel able to resign her position or her seat. She too, if guilty after the fact, needs to lose her job, needs to be prosecuted. A Police Scotsman spokesperson said officers were called to a report of a break-in at a property on Balmoral Gardens in Dundee during the evening of Thursday, January the 11th. 3 people, 2 men aged 50 and 36 and a 41-year-old woman were traced and all have been arrested and charged in connection. That was then. We did that report at the time. Nadia recently spoke about completing a placement at a counselling service for those with addiction issues. Well, it seems like she's trying to do a penance for the good work her brother's doing. She said, "I work with clients suffering from addiction and their families, and I began to understand the complex struggle my clients were experiencing. Addiction can befall anyone, especially people who know your brother. I know firsthand the effect addiction has on a family, and the stark reality is these drug death statistics could have included a loved one of my own." Yes, but there you go. You are aware, you know, and since you obviously know, you are guilty. And there's no way you did not say this to Humza Yousaf. He is guilty. Pair of you, public figures, sitting in authority, passing rules and laws that you expect everyone else to obey, and yet you do nothing. Hypocrisy and criminal behaviour because you're guilty after the fact. Now they're going to go and talk about this one. Another of Nadia's brothers, emergency room Dr. Mohammed, remains trapped in Gaza. Well, I'm going to say this. How is he trapped in Gaza? She's a British citizen. If he is her brother, as she claims, then his mother is a British citizen as well. He's entitled to a British passport and therefore is not trapped and can leave easily on his British passport. Why is he still there? Why is he claiming he's trapped? He's not trapped. Unless, of course, he's not her brother. In which case, once again, lies. All of this family, all the time, are coming into contact with lies, with cover-ups, with blood money, with the state paying money to get her parents out when no one else can, him breaking protocols, talking to world leaders to use influence. It's a lot of shit and shite and shadiness for one family. The El Naklas and all that hang on to them seem to be very, very wound up in all sorts of levels of terrible behaviour. When they're not dealing drugs, they're breaking international law, or they're being snide and shady telling lies, covering up. And she says she's a counsellor. Physician, heal thyself. I'm coming up. The sooner the people of Scotland realise what a corrosive, corrupt, criminal family they have leading them, Humza, Yousaf and El Nakla. They're the leaders of a cartel, aren't they? Nothing is ever straightforward. Everything is shrouded in lies, half-truths, misdirection. They purport to be honest, decent people. None of them are honest. None of them are decent. They sit there and they corrupt everything they touch. And they lie about it. And they expect the whole party mechanism to cover up everything shady that they're involved in. They need to be voted out. They need to be shown that this behaviour is not acceptable. They need to be thrown not just out of power, but out of politics. Personally, I'd say out of the country if this is how they treat it. But we have to put up with what we got. Out of power would be enough. So do please subscribe. It massively helps, and it helps me to bring stories like this to you. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will speak to you later. Goodbye.